So just to give you a little bit of uh, introduce myself, um, I've had a rather nonlinear career path. Actually started off as a commercial interior designer, and then I went into finance. So I'm a chartered financial analyst, and then I took my executive coaching training about 20 years ago, and I started off working with uh, corporate executives and business owners to help them um, get really clear about their priorities, their goals, their vision for their organization. And shortly into that, I kind of veered over into a specialty area called energy psychology. But basically, what it is, I taught a technique to help people regulate their emotions. So if they were very agitated about something or annoyed or felt really hurt by something, regardless of when it happened in their life, it could be in the past or something going on in the present moment or something they're even worried about in the future, we could help them kind of just really settle down so they could kind of see things for what they were, be more in the present and attend to their lives. And I actually created uh, my virtual golf program. I had two virtual 9-hole courses, and I would take people around my course, and they would rate themselves on their leadership skills and their capacity to manage indirect change. So I've had kind of um, my friend calls me like a non-linear career path. But the thing is, I play golf, and I've played golf for a long time, and I'm not a good golfer, but I love golf. And from time to time, I have slipped into what I call playing in the zone. And this is what we're going to talk about today, because I had the most extraordinary experience while I was in that state of mind, if you will, or in that flow state. And when I saw my scorecard afterwards, I was kind of blown away. Like what happened here? This is me playing golf, but this is somebody else who was golfing today. Um, and so I after I taught this technique for many years. In fact, I taught it to some golfers to help them kind of settle so they could, be calmer on the putting green and things like that. I was introduced to really a very new understanding about how the mind works. And it kind of explains how and why we can fall into a flow state and actually perform at a caliber somewhat better than not our natural skill, but our acquired skill at the time. So with me, because I'm a fairly high handicapper, my score, I would sometimes have like 10 strokes off my game, which is a lot. And so I thought that, when I approached Mark, this might be something of interest to you as golfers and as golf teachers, because we're always looking for the edge to help people step up and enjoy their game, play better, have more fun at it, and the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to start off by um, asking you what some of your experiences have been of
You
playing
have
in,
any wired headphones?
asking you if what your experience has been of being when you clearly knew that you were kind of in a kind of a different state of mind and you're playing much better than you normally do. Even if you didn't know it at the time, when you looked at your scorecard afterwards, it's like, wow, like I really played well today. So I'm gonna write down some of your comments so you can unmute yourself.
Well, Marlene, I'll jump in here right away. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So for me, I think I'm in a better state of mind when I'm not angry at myself. So if I'm not playing up to my what I think should be my potential and where I should be at, I get I get very angry and mad at myself, and I would never talk or treat anybody else like I treat myself in those situations. So for me, a heightened state, or what they call a flow state, I guess in your verbiage, would be when I'm not angry with myself. So it's almost like void for duplicity in the sense that if I'm not angry, then I'm in a flow state. But it doesn't seem I have any middle ground. Either I'm really up because I'm playing well, or I'm really down because I'm not playing well. So I'm hoping that's something that you can help me with moving forward. And obviously then I can pass it on to students.
Okay, so I'll put not angry up here and angry down here. But you're talking about the state of a mind. So if you're in a better state of mind where you're not angry at yourself, that's one experience. Another experience is when you're kind of like, yeah, and you're really hard on yourself. Anybody else?
I'll jump in. Happy to be here.
Ah,
And pardon me. Forgiving. I'm very forgiving of my missed shots. It's like it's good enough.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
It's
Something-
Connie.
Oh, hi,
Sorry.
Connie. Yeah.
Hi.
I'll
I
go
would
ahead.
say-
I just think I score better when I'm having fun and my body's more relaxed.
And then relax. Yeah.
I'd chime in with playing one shot at a time.
Ah, I experienced this. I experienced what I call effortlessness. Like it's just like nothing took any effort. Like deciding what club to use, how to line up the ball. Like it just felt. So I'll put mind thing in here. Effortless.
Hi, this is Terry from Alberta. What I noticed myself is my body language, the speed my body's in. If it's a neutral, I seem to have a much better game. But when my speed means I'm rushing, it seems like my shots aren't as good.
I'll put neutral. You know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we slow down to the speed of life.
Yes.
Anything
Hey
you want to add?
everyone.
Yeah.
One I hear a lot from people that I've golfed with a lot and myself as well is thinking about the number. You know, if it's a tournament and there's a certain number you've got to hit, if I'm not thinking about the numbers, it's lights out. If you're thinking about the number, or I've had guys in tournaments that are, you need to shoot 6, 8 over par, and then they come out and they pull 14 or 16 over. It's
Okay.
thinking about the number always seems to hinder anything.
Yeah.
In my experience.
It's the hindering. I thought you were putting a plug in for thinking about the number. Was not thinking.
Further to that, we could say to play without expectations.
Yes. Results, expectations, that type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So let's go down to the other end of the spectrum. When you're just slogging through. So angry,
Negative.
negative.
Defensive.
Oh. Need a beer.
Having to explain yourself
Need a beer.
or self-medicate. Right?
Trying too hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thinking too much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're trying too hard and trying to make it happen instead of allowing it to happen. It's a fine line.
I'm gonna put allowing up here. Making or forcing.
Hello?
Yeah.
Thomas is busy. Don't call him yet, okay?
Okay. Thank you. This is really good. So what we kind of, how we frame this, we call this our state of mind. So if you like, when we're up here, when we're not angry and having fun, we might call that being like in a high mood or an elevated mood, or you just kind of, you're feeling good about things. And down here, we call it a low mood. So low mood doesn't mean you're sad or depressed. It means that you're angry, frustrated, pissed off, all of those kinds of things, self-deprecating, self-blaming, all the ways that we can kind of, feel. And what I've got over on the side here is actually a glass elevator on the outside of a building. That's my rendition of it. And there's a human being in the glass elevator. So you can well appreciate that if you're in a glass elevator and you're down in the basement, it doesn't look that good. You basically got, either 4 concrete walls, or maybe you come up and you're at the first level and you just see a lot of congestion or fog or whatever. And so our state of mind actually impacts what we see in the world. So as you go up your glass elevator, you can imagine that you've got clear sky. You can, you feel more optimistic. It's, like a blue sky and sunshine kind of day, versus down at, the lower levels here where it can look pretty gloomy and discouraging. So we're just going to use this metaphor of this glass elevator, because I think if you haven't been in a glass elevator on the outside of a building, at least you can imagine that what you see and experience actually changes as you go up and down the elevator. So I just want to mention something here, that the elevator only has one button, and that's down. So if you, if you're trying to work the system and fix things, you're actually making things worse, and you're going to go down, because the elevator actually floats up as you're on its own. If you've probably experienced that too, you could be feeling really discouraged. You go home and you have a good night's sleep, and the next day, like, it's a whole new day, and blue sky and sunshine again. So we'll naturally go up in our elevator and see things with more clarity and feel more optimistic. But why does this happen? Why do we go up and down? Any ideas?
Well, stress for one, daily stress. I know
And
that's one thing for me. Yeah.
I think we judge ourselves.
Okay. Yeah. Judgment.
Expectations.
Yeah.
Expectations.
Yeah. All of those things.
The
So
reaction to what's going on around us too, right?
it looks that way, doesn't it? But I'll show you something. So I'm calling this your mental mechanics. Can you see this? I've got kind of like a person here, that over on the side here, I've got the weather. A person, it could be like another human being. It could be somebody that, you go with, could be your scorecard. And so what we've understood up to now is that our mind kind of works like a camera. Here's my camera. Okay. So we take in all of this information from the outside world through our 5 senses, what we see, what we hear, what we, mostly seeing here. And that somehow that exterior information kind of comes in to our consciousness, if you will, and we respond or react to the situation. So we can feel happy about it, we can feel stressed about it, we can feel annoyed about it, that type of thing. That everything that we're experiencing is coming from the outside in. So basically, outside, right? So it's all coming towards you this way, and then you're having an experience of it. And this is, so we're always in response or reaction to the outside world. But 50 years ago, a Canadian man actually had a very profound experience where he clearly see that this is not how the mind works. It does not work from the outside in. right? So what we think we're perceiving out there is kind of not really the way we perceive it. So are you with me so far? Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. So what we actually experience comes from the inside out. So here we are again. There's still the stuff out there. That's, that's not gone away. But we have a capacity to bring our thoughts alive. So our thinking literally looks like the outside world. And so the mind kind of works like an old-fashioned movie projector, right? So we might notice something out here, and we have thoughts about it. Thought comes into our consciousness like this, right? We have, trains of thoughts, lots of thoughts coming in. We have tens of thousands of thoughts every day. And it's almost like our thinking is projected, kind of like our own projector screen. And so what we experience, what we think is the outside world, is actually our projection of the outside world. So to give you an example of this, you and a friend of yours could go to a movie, and after you watch the movie and you come away, like, you talk about what you saw, what you thought about the movie, and it's like, did we even see the same movie? Because somebody noticed something different. They had a completely different response to it. Maybe they thought it was like a good movie or kind of not a good movie. And so what we experience actually is generated from what we call three principles. So we have the principle of thought. We constantly have this train of thought. The principle of what we call consciousness. So our consciousness is our capacity to bring our thoughts alive so they look real. This is the ground for our emotions, for our moods, for how we perceive things. Our thoughts even impact our five senses. So it's an inside out generated reality. And the thoughts come from another power we'll call mind, or the intelligence behind the universe, or whatever you want to call that. So with these three principles, or these three elements, if you want, every human being creates their own individual personal reality. And of course, because our thoughts are always thinking and changing, so does our reality. So you're on the golf course one day and you're having a great time and playing well. You're out there another day, and for whatever reason, you're kind of in a bit of a funk and struggling, right? But the challenging thing is it looks so real and so convincing. We still think this is the reason for how we feel, right? We still think it's like, oh, the weather, or that person that kind of annoys me, or my scorecard. Like it's so convincing that what we experience is coming from the outside world that initially it's kind of hard to see this. And you might be wondering about this right now yourself. But what this man discovered was that we live in essentially kind of like a virtual reality, if you will, because everybody experiences life differently. Everybody experiences the world differently. So if you think of something like let's take the pandemic, for example. Like, some people were really frightened, really concerned, like, it just kind of consumed their all their attention. And other people, it's like, yeah, whatever. They actually kind of enjoyed, the time off, or the time that they worked at home. So you can see that we could take a situation or event or something, and people have profoundly different experiences of that event. So what we're really saying here is that our capacity to bring our thinking alive and have it look real gives us our experience of the outside world, but it's not the outside world directly. So somebody could say something like, I'm really nervous about public speaking. It's like, well, but you're sitting at home and you're on your sofa, like, how could you be afraid of public speaking when you're sitting on your sofa? It's because we can project, use our imaginations to project into the future. It's something that's very desirable or welcoming. We can project worst case scenarios into the future and then kind of terrify ourselves with our thinking. And then even going back into the past, we can go back and we can recall very lovely experiences, something that we really enjoyed and had fun, or we can recall kind of things that are not so nice, not so pleasant to remember. But because we're feeling our thinking in the moment, we're always experiencing our thoughts in the moment. We're not experiencing the outside world or the past and the future unless we bring that past or that future into the present moment, and that becomes our experience. So our experience is our emotions, our perceptions, our feelings. It all comes from within us, from the inside out. I know. The first time I saw this too, it's like, what is she talking about? But if you can see why people see things differently, why they feel differently about the same thing, why they can't see eye to eye, why they can't agree on things, why they try to manipulate and manage the outside world so they don't have to feel what they feel. So if I have somebody in my life that I think if I just avoid them completely, then I won't feel how I am in their presence. Well, it's like, but that feeling is coming from me. It's my expectations, it's my past experience, and it's my beliefs about that person. And so we're always in this experience of our thinking in the moment about situations. So to put it into context with playing golf, and some of you really said that very beautifully, like if you step up and hit the ball and that's the only thing on your mind, then that's the only thing on your mind, right? It's not that you three-putted in the last hole, or that you hit your ball out of bounds, 2 holes ago, or, oh my God, if I don't birdie this or par this hole, my score is going to suck at the end of the game. So you can see how we can literally take ourselves out, because if we're thinking those extraneous things in the past or the future, we're pushing the down button on our elevator. We're taking our state of mind down, our state of consciousness down, and we're not going to perform at our full capacity. So I'd like to kind of have you continue to play along with this. Any questions so far? We're going to come back to this. Okay. So this is how every human being on earth operates, right? We all have thoughts. We all have the capacity to bring our thoughts to life. And it doesn't really matter what we think and feel. We're fine, right? It's if we're angry or a little bit down, like we're fine. We'll get over it. We'll get through it. Because our natural state is actually well-being. Our natural state of mind is actually what we call mental health, optimism, happiness. That's where we'll, if we don't kind of muck around with all the, have more thinking on our thinking, so to speak, we'll just naturally rise up and feel better. And so this is what this gentleman discovered, that we don't have to work at having a mental health or work at having a positive state of mind. We'll just kind of gravitate there. But I'll show you sometimes what takes us out. So we have what we call the power of thought. So power of thought means that I can choose to think a certain thing. I can, choose to use my power of thought to be very creative or innovative. I can use my power of thought to think about the past, to imagine about the future. But another thing that we also have the capacity to ignore our thinking, right? Because we can't control our thinking. There's all these programs now about positive psychology and only thinking positive thoughts. Like, really? Like you have 70, 80,000 thoughts a day. Do you really think you can, control your thinking? But the thing that gives us a heads up about where our thinking is going is how we feel. So we're always in the feeling state of our thinking. And if we start to feel discouraged, That's just a little message coming from within your, your perfectly designed psychological system that you've kind of wandered over, and they're starting to have discouraging thoughts about things. So this is something that I actually read in a book years ago. It was the book was written by psychologists who realized that people could coach themselves. So if they understood this concept. So the first concept is what we call a fact. So if you want to play along here, you can think about a situation on the golf course. Maybe you 3-putted, or maybe you hit it out of bounds, or maybe you topped your ball, or like pick one. If somebody wants to play along with me here, or you can all participate. So what's something that kind of like really annoys you?
Missing a 3-footer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss the 3-footers. Okay. So that's the fact, right? You missed the 3-footer. Now, what do you make of that?
You should have made it.
It have made it, right? I suck at putting. What else? I know you all think these thoughts. You're human beings.
I need a new putter.
I hear a pattern of negativity here. What about the positives?
The positives of missing the 3-foot putt.
You may still have more hope to play.
Yeah, it was for Eagle.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, par, birdie, pick one, right? So this is where we're using the power of our mind to kind of take ourselves out. Because if I stood here and covered this up, and all you could see here is I missed a 3-foot putt, you missed a 3-foot putt, right? But when we start to engage in all of this, what I call fictional thinking, well, the should have, would haves, ought to haves, oh my God, what if, and all that kind of stuff. That's what takes us into feeling more discouraged, and we're much more likely to go to the next hole, in the lower state of mind. We've brought our elevator down, so to speak, and so we're not setting ourselves up for success. And when you're over here because you can feel it, right? Most of our thinking is invisible, if you can well imagine, because we have like how many thoughts a minute or second. But because we feel our thinking, it gives us a little bit of a clue. It's like, did you notice that you're starting to feel kind of in about this whole situation? And when we notice and come back to the present moment, it's like, okay, it happened. Period. Period. Not, I missed a 3-foot putt and blah, 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 right? So this takes a little bit of noticing, because you might think, okay, so I missed a 3-foot putt. And initially like, it's disappointing. That kind of sucks. But the quicker you can sort of like just deal with it, or like, okay, whatever, it happened, and get on with your game, then it's like, it doesn't take you out for the next 2 or 3 holes, right? So the temptation is to blame the 3-foot putt on how I feel 10 minutes later. It's not how you feel 10 minutes later, because that missing the 3-foot putt already happened. But now you've kind of taken up the cause, and what a bad thing that was. So you're using your power of thought to kind of take you out, so to speak. Because remember, it's not what happened in the outside world that has you feel the way you feel. It becomes now you're thinking about it. And even though it'd be really handy to blame the weather, blame that person, blame your golf club, blame the, the groundskeeper, pick one. It'd be handy if you did that, but that thinking is just going to bring your elevator down, right? So just like it is what it is, pick it up and move on. So when you come back to our elevator, any questions about this?
Maybe my point last time about negativity was taken out of proportion. I was trying to say you got to be thinking more positive. It's just a 3-foot putt, like you were saying. So if you're more negative about yourself, then it's going to have other implications for the next couple of holes.
Right.
It's just a putt. You're getting on with the next hole. It's a different
Right.
hole, different objective. That's what I was trying. I just didn't say it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah. If we can catch ourselves quickly enough, if you start to feel a certain way, it's like, okay, wait a minute. I know what's going on here. And yes, we can direct our thoughts to, more positive thoughts, but whenever we return to the present moment, we naturally return to well-being. It's part of our psychological makeup, that it's like, that's just all built into the system. When you come back to the present moment, that happened, that's the way it is. Now what? You're going to be fine. And you can give yourself a little pep talk if you want, and okay, so here we go, next hole. So what happens, the difference between when we're up here, so here's you. So we have a certain amount of thinking, right? Because it's like, okay, so there's the pin, there's the distance, there's my lie, what club. I mean, we can't say that we're not thinking, but it's almost becomes more instinctive. I mean, you've all played golf for a long time. You can probably just glance at something and you immediately know, the best approach. So we're in what we call a very quiet state of mind. We don't have a lot of analyzing, comparing, processing. You just kind of step up and you're with the ball and you hit the ball. But what happens when we're down here? Is that we're having a lot of thinking, right? And so, contrary to what we've led to believe that something is stressful, the thing that's inevitably is stressful is our overthinking about things. So I use my metaphor here. I have this little snow globe. And when we have a calm state of mind, you can see that it's pretty clear. But when we start overthinking or beating ourselves up or telling ourselves we should, or this is not good, or that's bad, then you get a lot of flaky thoughts in there, which actually reduces your mental clarity, reduces your confidence, reduces your capacity to execute your shot with confidence. So this understanding is there to help us appreciate that we have this amazing power of thought, and we can use it in ways that enhances our game, or innocently and unknowingly takes us out. But once you've seen this, it's like, and it takes a while to see it. Like, I didn't see this the first time somebody introduced this to me. It's like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. But after a while, you just kind of start to see it and you appreciate it, that we're actually a thinker having thoughts. We're not our thoughts. We're not the originator of our thoughts. We don't have to identify with our thoughts. We can pick or choose which thoughts that we, give more attention and energy to. So over time, you find yourself being less and less engaged, less and less caught up, if you will, less and less giving less and less attention to your thinking. And pretty soon actually living in a calmer state of mind. It's not that those thoughts are not running through, but you're just paying less and less attention to them. And that's essentially the capacity that we all have as a human being, is that you just don't have to give that thinking your time and your energy. You can't stop them. You can't change them. Of course, you can use your thinking in very creative ways to create to visualize your game, to, imagine how you're going to play. Like, all that stuff is a good use of thought. The not so helpful use of thought is when we use it to do this. So playing in a elevated state of mind, or what we call a flow state, or in the zone, is basically you've just relaxed your thinking about everything. And it's like you trust a deeper intelligence that we all have, that you've got this, like, you know how to hit that shot. You've done this how many hundreds of thousands of times before. And so when people are learning golf, of course, there is a lot of thinking. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to kind of take in as they're working on their swing mechanics and things like that. So what we've thought up to now is that performance equals our capacity plus information. So, of course that if you're taking up a sport, or you're learning any kind of skill or something, you're going to learn things, to improve your mechanics, improve your understanding, improve your course management. Like, that's all good stuff. I'm not saying that, this goes out the window, because what I've discovered with, being in this elevated state of mind, or this flow state, it basically enhances our skill set, but it doesn't substitute for a skill set. So I'm still me, mediocre golfer playing at my skill level, but just a little bit better because of my state of mind. And so it's, as teachers, you're teaching your students to, all the good stuff, all the information, all the skill thing. But what really takes people to the next level is peak performance now becomes your capacity minus interference. So you've done all your thinking, plotting, planning, skill building and things on the driving range, but on the golf course, you'll leave that all behind. And anything you bring about overthinking a shot, or beating yourself up, or giving yourself a hard time, or being angry with yourself, that all diminishes. That's what we call interference. That diminishes your skill level. So it's really up to you.
Was just gonna say, this is fantastic. Can I tell a little story, Marlene? Because it seems I'm kind of known for stories. Jeff's laughing already, but
I was hoping you would.
yeah. I won't pretend for a second that I knew any of this, but I had an experience happen to me, and it kind of led me down this trail inadvertently. I have a son who's a very natural golfer, as much as golfers ever could be. He was swinging a golf club when he was in diapers, and we got probably, he was 10 years old in one of the junior camps I was running, and he was the best golfer by far. He could hit any of the shots, and we'd go out in the afternoon and they'd play in groups, and he got, on the 6th hole or something, and he hit the ball fine, and he was so mad, and I'm like, Lucas, and I'd seen the first 5 holes. He hit the ball great, and getting mad, the ball's not right beside the flag, and So finally I said to him, and I was so done. I was working with these kids for a few days, and and watching my own son hit the ball so much better than everybody else, but be so mad on every shot. And I finally said to him, Lucas, don't worry. He says, like what? I said, don't worry. You're never going to be a golfer because you can't handle a bad shot. So you'll never learn how to recover. And so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't have to play golf because you're not having any fun. And I was so mad. And him and I, he's been our little baby, my wife and I, and I've never had a fight with him. I've never had an argument with him. And that was the first time ever. And I was so upset about it. And I was tired from the junior camp. 3 days later, I realized, holy crap, Luke has become his father. He sees his dad hit a shot and it's on the green, but it's not close enough. It's right beside the hole, but it's not in. And a pot that, and he's just emulating everything I've ever done. So I said to my best friend, who's quite a bit older than me, I said, you know what? You'll never see me mad ever again on my golf course, ever. It doesn't matter whether I hit it in the woods or hit it in the water. I'll never, ever, ever, ever be mad on the golf course ever again. And so anyways, that was probably 2 years ago. And ever since then, I've played the best golf of my life. And I owe it to my little guy, last year, for everybody that didn't know, but we had our annual tournament, and I played really well, and I won by 5 shots, and I had an 8 on the 17th hole. And I had one bad shot that was completely gone, and it caused a triple. And other than that, I played phenomenal round. And even with the 8 on the 17th hole, and I had no idea what anybody else was shooting, I wasn't mad. I was just like, well, Lucas Ray, you've taught me so much. And I'm, as you're making this presentation, I don't mean to be intruding, but I think for some of us, we only learn through experience, and it's unfortunate because some people won't get the right experience. But for me, that was definitely the key to a few good years of golf and more enjoyment too.
Actually, that's a perfect example, Mark. And I would encourage more of you to speak up, because it's seeing this through your own experience where this is going to be meaningful for you. So one of the things, we have like our own thought system, if you want to call it that. Some people call it a belief system, but much of that thought system that we kind of recycle our thinking, so to speak, is what we call our conditioning. So we've been brought up by human beings who have their own stuff. And so children will learn from us, like we learned from our parents. And if your response to life is anger, it was like, that's how you do life, right? Like children don't question that. That's just the way my dad does it, my mom does it, or they're a worrier, or they're depressed, and so children will pick up it, and that becomes part of their thought system. And it looks like it's true. It looks like it's real. It looks like, well, that's how you do life. And so when people don't understand that their thinking shapes their experience of their own life, they think that experience is that's not only it, that's the actual outside world, right? So for you to see that, for him to kind of provide that little aha moment for you, we call that an insight. That's what makes the difference. It's not what we learn intellectually. I could go through this presentation again. You're going, that's interesting. But when you see something for yourself, that's what takes your elevator up. So if you're used to hanging out on the 30th floor, you're kind of good there, and you have an insight, your elevator just normally moves up. So from then on, you never unsee what you just saw, and you're operating from a new state of mind.
So Marlene, what I'm getting out of your conversation is about being mindful to be in the present.
Yes.
and to set your intentions and to visualize how you want to look or shape your shot or whatever. But am I on the right track?
Yes. You know, it's really interesting. They've discovered that every thought is actually in the past or the future. And the state of, you know, this, what we call this flow state, or this being in the zone, you're actually in a state of pretty much no thought, right? So that's really what presence is. Like, you're actually, you know, you're standing over the ball, or you're having a conversation with that person, or whatever that looks like for you. And there's no thinking between you and that situation or that individual. So you're completely present to them. When we're not present is when we have extra thinking about it. Like, oh, last time I played this course, blah, blah, blah happened, right? So that's what gets in the way for us to not only see things with more clarity, to perform closer to our true potential.
Okay, thank you.
Could I say something?
Yeah.
I just wanted to hark back to the very beginning of your presentation. I remember the first time I went to a CGTF Cup, I was really nervous, and I had the idea that everybody was going to be judging me on my playing ability. And so, to pick up your metaphor from the beginning, I was working on I was taking information and imagining thoughts of outside, but in fact, I was the one who was judging myself, and people actually couldn't give a damn how I was playing. They would probably be more interested, am I a decent guy or am I a shit? That kind of thing, right? It's not about playing ability. So that's something that's taken me a long time to learn, is that really we are the sum of our thoughts and our emotions, and we can stop worrying about what other people perceive about us and pay more attention to what's in us and what we are doing to ourselves.
Yes. You know, that whole thing around worrying what other people think, that's a lot of that comes from almost all of our early life experience. How many times have you said, well, don't do anything that upset that person, or, what will they think of you? Or so, we innocently kind of get set up for that, using our thinking about speculating what other people are thinking about us, and they're using their thinking to speculate what you think about them. So, it's kind of insidious, because so many people, that shapes their behavior, or shapes their their choices, because what, we don't even know what other people think. Most people don't know what they think, right? But we're set up to believe that that's important, and it never is, because if I'm always amazed when I have a friend who has another really good friend, and yet I can't stand the really good friend that's really good friends with her. It's like, well, yeah, but we're really both good friends with the same person, but I don't like this other person that she likes. So how is that, right? So there's always thought between us and the outside world, and our thought becomes our experience, more so, almost more so. It overrides what's happening on the outside world, because the outside world is basically, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of beauty, a lot of amazing people, a lot of love and grace in the world, but that gets kind of whitewashed with our preconceived notions and our, yeah.
I think, just to further on what Don said, that why does golf seem to be so judgmental, right? Why are people so hard on themselves, fearing being judged, on the first tee, if they fresh air it or hit one out into the parking lot? They're all so uptight and so nervous and so conscious about the outside surroundings, that they get wrapped into this little, Tasmanian devil, and like your snow globe, they can't have any sort of fun. So, how do we, as golf teachers, get them to be, in that? Here in Ontario, we have a fitness club called Planet Fitness, and their motto is the no judgment zone. So how do we get golfers to be in that mindset, or as you called it, into that calmness?
Well, there's no kind of fast and easy answer because
Damn,
you have to
I
see
was
it
looking for a magic pill.
Yeah, I know. You have to see it for yourself first. You have to see your own mind and actions before you can start kind of preaching, to how this all works. I actually do I'll do a little plug here. Actually, I'm created I call it the executive course. So it's a 9-hole course, and we go through all different aspects of this understanding because it's so new and so different. I found, like, even for me, I call it like the slow drip method. Like I saw a little bit, then I saw a little bit more, then I saw a little bit more until it really profoundly changed my life. And I also offer one-on-one coaching, but then I came up with this idea is because we're all learning this together, that, if somebody wanted coaching, they could bring 2 more people with them. We could, you could have like we could call it, 1-on-3 coaching or something like that. So it makes the coaching more accessible financially. It kind of makes it more fun because if you see something about this understanding that's like, oh, what did you see about it? Then it's sort of a catalyst for me seeing something, because there's really 2 ways that we learn. Like, so one way is what we call like through the personal mind, through our intellect. So it's like stuffing all kinds of information into our personal laptop computer of a brain, right? Like, and we're really good at that. And our culture really encourages that. Like, if you can't figure it out, just keep rehashing it, recircling, go round and round, see if you can, and, see something differently. But we also have this capacity for insight. And this insight comes from beyond our personal thinking. It's sort of like Mark said, when he noticed his son getting angry, he had an inner sight about that situation that was mirroring his own behavior. And so somebody could have told him that 10 times. It's like, yeah. But once you see it for yourself, it's like, that's what wakes you up. So this whole process is kind of waking up to how this all works. And specifically waking up to our true nature. So our true nature is actually peace of mind, intelligence, patience, grace, until it isn't. It's like you think about the human mind like a hurricane. And in the middle of the hurricane, there's always this calm, this clarity, it's quiet. And then you can go on the, get into the cloud formation, and, we actually call it the thought storm. You get into your thinking about something and get, kind of thrown around in your own mental processing. And then you just kind of naturally fall back into the center, into that place of calm and presence. And, so you can execute with, I call it grace and ease.
Could that be akin to goals and expectations for when you go to the golf course as a young golfer, like you're saying there, Jeff? Trying to teach somebody so they get up on the first tee. The last thing you want to worry about is the other 3 people looking at them smacking the ball. Maybe give them some goals and some expectations that you would have for them for a couple of rounds at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Is to set the expectations and keep the expectations very, very low. The number one expectation should be the best F word in golf, which is FUN, right? Make sure you're having fun.
Relax, enjoy yourself.
Right. So,
you're actually going to play better.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't give people more things to think about, quite
No.
honestly, because it takes them back into their intellectual thinking. Oh, am I doing this right? When I'm supposed to
Right.
remember to do this. And so it takes them out of that natural state of flow when they're just relaxed and just giving it their best shot.
So Marlene,
yeah.
Sorry. Do you ever use the strategy to promote calmness around, the breath work, like breathing in and out as you're taking your swing to calm your nervous system down?
Constance, I taught techniques for 15 years, breathing, tapping, whatever. But it's almost like, if your natural state is calm, do you really have to work at it? it's more the realization. It's more the understanding. Like if I don't get all caught up here and, you know, what, you know, imagine worst case scenarios, everybody's looking at me, judging me, taking notes, you know, posting on social media. That's what takes us out of our well-being, is
Yeah.
using the power of our minds or power of our thoughts to really create that chaos. But because we don't appreciate that we're kind of, you know, it's sort of all on our side of the equation. It's not because people are watching. Because if people weren't watching, I'd be fine. It's like, it's not because people are watching. It's because of the thinking you're having about people that are watching. And you can tell somebody this, but until they kind of like see it for themselves, it's like, oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of people and just hit my ball. It was fine. Right. Yeah. So you can't convince somebody. They have to have an experience of it. So if it comes alive, it feels real for them. You know, there's a place for the strategies, there's the place for the goal setting, there's a place for that, but not when you're hitting the ball.
I had my experience from a Special Olympics athlete. That's who I concentrate in my teaching. And at one time I told one of my better golfers, I think I would probably putt better if I got the Callaway triple track ball and lined up my ball. And he just turned out and looked at me and said, you think way too much. True.
I talked to a couple of professional golfers, and I was surprised they said exactly the same thing. I thought that was interesting. And they both said, when I'm hitting the ball, I never think about results. Because as soon as your mind is going there, it's not here.
Divorce yourself from the result.
Yeah. It kind of goes counter. It counters the way we're educated in North America. Like we're taught to be, you know, to scheme and plan and strategize and intellectualize everything. So it means like, really, I could just not think about all of that and just hit the ball. Like, really, is that going to work? But then you have an experience of it, like when you fall into that perfect shot that felt so effortless, or you played a few holes, or you played the whole round in that state where it was just easy and effortless and fun, and it's like, and then you find out how much better you actually played. You might be convinced. I want to say a little bit more about our what we call our field of thought, or our you know, our thought system. There's actually two ways. I'm just making this up. There's not really two ways, but there's two ways that we can use our mind. So the one way is that we can use it, you know, to learn, to accumulate information, skill, expertise. Like that's really a valuable part of having a human brain. But the other part of what we call mind is this, you know, this, what we call this deeper intelligence, or this insight, or some people even call it intuition, which is sort of like beyond our personal intellect. And so mind comes from the understanding that there's actually an intelligence that created the universe. I don't know if you noticed that the planets don't run into each other, you know, that somehow things are, you know, beautiful and perfectly organized and balanced. And so what the physicists are seeing now is that the world's not mechanistic. It's like the world is an outcome of the capacity for this, you know, what Einstein called the field. You know, other physicists have a different name for it, but there's this intelligence behind life that's actually behind us too. You know, you think about the intelligence that beats our heart, that breathes us, that, you know, somehow magically digests our food and heals us and things like that. Like that doesn't come because we figured out how to do it, right? That's just a natural part of being a human. So it's recognizing that our kind of like our deeper essence, if you will, is connected to this intelligence, to this this peaceful place where we can perform, without the encumbrance of our intellectual mind. And so when we kind of recognize we got the best of both worlds, if you want, because I know for me, I've had insights which I think really protected me. Like I was in Mexico by myself when I was walking along, and all of a sudden I just had this aha moment. It's like, you need to turn around. And I turned around and there's a guy right behind me, and I just went, like, walked past him really fast. He kind of went like this. And so, that the thing that created us, whatever you think that is, Indigenous people call it great spirit or creator, whatever you think that is, that's got your back, and it will help you to perform well, to make good decisions, to to be inspired. And so, and it's like, I love that book called Golf in the Kingdom, because to me, this is what this is. Like when we allow that wisdom to help us perform, it's really nice. We don't have to figure it all out ourselves. It's got our back.
Well put.
So we've got a few minutes. Well, it's up to the hour. I don't know, Mark, how long you want to continue with this, but I'd love to hear from more people. Like, how are they connecting with this? Like, because when we articulate what we're seeing or what we're recognizing, that helps us to kind of integrate that understanding, kind of brings it out and makes it more palpable, makes it more real. Something you acknowledge that you've seen that would be useful.
Before we get a whole bunch of interaction, can I just ask a question about what Jeff and I present in the certifications right now? We talk a lot about internal and external focuses. So, when you start thinking about mechanics and targets and all those things, we have our opinion for sure of what we want to focus on, but what do you think about internal, external focuses?
Well, I think external. Or are you asking me, or are you asking
Yeah,
your?
you for sure.
Well, to me, it's like, if you think about, we live in the world of the form and the formless, right? The form is the outer world. Like, that's where we set our expectations. We do our visualization, like, all that good strategy stuff, course management, whatever. But the inner, I guess the inner game, if you want to call it that, that's kind of invisible. Like, we can't see thinking, but we can feel it. So it's like kind of trusting that that feeling that we're experiencing is guiding us either towards better performance or away from it. If I'm starting to feel anxious, frustrated, angry, that's moving me away. If I'm starting to feel calmer, more confident, kind of like accepting, allowing, that's going to lead me towards better performance. So I think both is important.
Perfect.
And I think just to kind of follow up on that too, is that, we need to train our golfers to realize that, are they training? Are they practicing? Are they working on their skill sets? So do they include an internal or an external focus? And that's okay to do that. But when we walk to the other end of the range and we go onto the first tee, then I think, we have to go to the play and lose all of those sorts of things, and then go to what Marlene has expressed as, stay in the present. How do you find that state of calmness and swing your swing? How do you get the ball from this point to the next point, right? What kind of motion are you going to have to create? And let her flow, let her go.
Well, that's a good tagline. I like that one.
You can take it. That's my new tattoo.
Paul.
I think as golfers, and we all know because we've taught and we've played, that we're we're overthinkers and we're over triers and we're overdoers. And if we could just, get the mind to be empty, to see clear, that things would flow in a whole lot better fashion, whether it's on the golf course or just in life in general. People seem to get way too complicated and think too much. And as we all know, we try too hard. Just that interrupts the fluidity.
One of the premises with this understanding, which is called the three principles, by the way, and it was discovered by a Canadian man by the name of Sydney Banks, Sydney. You can go on YouTube and you can Google Sydney Banks or Google the three principles. He's passed away now, but a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists started traipsing up to Salt Spring Island because they wondered, like, what the heck is this guy telling people that they're all so at peace and have loving relationships and just seem to exist in a world of joyfulness, because they weren't getting that with their patients and clients. And one of the things that he clearly saw, that almost there's like one cause of anxiety, stress, overwhelm, pressure, you name it, any kind of mental health distress is based on overthinking and using the power of thought in a way that's not helpful. Like, I remember meeting a woman here in Calgary, and so she was using her thinking to imagine that people were breaking into her house. And there's never any evidence that people ever broke into her house, but they moved every year because of this fear. Not realizing that she was, her thinking was bringing all this distress and this fear alive in her, not appreciating that was really using the power of her thinking to distress herself.
Did you fix her?
Be good to be a realtor.
I think we all know that the mind is such a very, very powerful tool, right? It's incredibly powerful. And, I don't think we do enough on a daily basis just to treat it with some TLC, trying to be more forgiving and more accepting and trying to let things go. I know that's been a battle for me over the years of being a rough, tough hockey and football player. And it was always, thinking revenge. How am I going to get back at this, or how am I going to be better? And instead of just trying to be the best I could be. And I think that's been, not that I play a lot of golf anymore, but I think my success has been from that. It'll be what it'll be, and I'm just going to accept what it is. And it's good enough, right? It's to get me around the golf course. So 2 years ago, I finished second in the Canadian Golf Teachers, and that was my whole mindset. Whatever. I'm just going to hit it up there. And I had this, it's kind of a similar situation as Mark on the 10th hole. I damn near shanked one out of bounds, and I had a terrible second shot, which I put into the pond on the left one, right? It was, thank goodness it was a par 5, but I'm lying 3, right? Hitting 210 yards up to an uphill pin. It'll be what it'll be, right? My playing partner, he's on there in 2, but I hit that third shot to that far, right?
Nice.
blew him out of the water. He got all upset because I didn't deserve to be there because of where the road map where I was to get there. But I just accepted it.
The tricky part about this understanding is when thinking doesn't look like thinking. It's like when it looks real, right? Like no, this isn't my thinking. This is real, and so this is something that all of us sort of reach that threshold. It's like, okay, so this too is my thinking, right? They gave an example of this isn't a great story, but the power of our thinking and the power of this, this deeper wisdom or insight. That they interviewed this young boy who had shot his principal. This is in the United States. And they visited him in jail afterwards. He goes, he says, I knew I was walking down the hallway with that gun, and this voice in my head said, you don't have to do this. So he was being guided by this, this deeper part of him that's wise and knowing, and just kind of completely overrode it. So we can override almost anything, and if it kind of fits with what our ego thinks is correct. Yeah.
So I've found probably a short-term solution, but developing pre-shot routines and post-shot routines to have students be able to relax and get into their shot and focus on their shot. And then almost more importantly, when the shot's completed, and if it isn't the shot they were expecting, then to help them move away from that shot and develop a routine that shows the shot being played differently, and then on they go to the next shot. So it's a shallow goal. It's not life-changing, but it works in a pinch.
Yeah. If people have a pre-shot routine that helps them relax and focus, I'd say go for it. But if the pre-shot routine is, kind of complex and they have to do a lot of thinking about it.
No, it's very simple.
Very simple. Yeah.
Very
yeah.
simple.
I've seen people get up and waggle till the cows come home, and I thought, like, we're going to hit the ball.
No. It's very quick and very calming. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. All of that helps, right? All of that helps. We're only trying to take people to a good place, or they feel good about themselves, good about their shot, and they, execute.
I think
if I could add something here, one of the situations that I've seen myself in, and I play a lot of golf with my dad, who I classify as an angry golfer. One of the pros that I used to work with, if you miss a green or it's not the shot you want, and this guy was a really good short game player. Say you pushed one and you're 20 or 30 yards off the green, and you're getting down on yourself or like, I could have done this, getting into that negative mindset of things. He would always turn it into a positive way of thinking. And one of the reasons that he was such a good chipper and putter, and he would almost be happy about it. And he turned the bad approach shot into, oh, now I get to practice my short game. This is the part I love best. And you kind of look at him like he was a little bit crazy, but changing thinking like that, just taking the negative out of it and going, okay, now I get to hit the next shot and it's exciting. That takes all the bad stuff that happened before. Now it's gone. Now you're focusing on a positive thing. You're focusing on your next shot and the shot at hand, right? So that's just something that struck a chord with me a lot, and something that I try to share with a lot of people.
So he's using his power of thought proactively, right?
Yes.
He could also use it to get curious about his drive. I want to go back here for a second, because, we go up and down our elevators, but other people do too. And so when other people are behaving badly or making poor choices, or it behooves us to have compassion, patience, understanding for these people, because if they don't know how this works, they think that the outside world is causing them to feel a certain way, is causing them to be in reaction. You hit the ball and you get angry about it. Like, that's how they think the world works and how their mind works. So it's if we can kind of be with people like that, who are caught up in their thinking, or triggered, like gripped by their thinking, it's like if you can have that kind of that, that calm presence, you'll actually help them, settle a little bit without even saying anything. Oh, you're going to put your emails in. Yeah, I guess we're coming up to close to the end. If you could kindly put your emails in the chat, and I'd like to contact you and just see if there's I do I know people sort of dread the newsletter thing, but I write a little article, like 2 or 3 paragraphs on this every week, if you'd like to receive that, or to be notified of any upcoming courses I do around this. Yeah.
Don't worry, Marlene. I'm taking a list of everybody's on
Oh,
here.
okay.
I have
Okay.
their emails, and I'll get them out to you tomorrow at some
Okay,
point.
great.
So yeah, I think one of the problems with golf in particular, like I play a lot of hockey, for instance, and hockey, you don't have time to think and think and think, right? Where, if you're hit it over behind a tree and you all of a sudden you're evaluating, can I hit it around this tree? Can I hit it over this tree? Can I hit it under this tree? Or do I just chip it out into the fairway, take my medicine and go on? All those things are extra thoughts that so many other activities and sports you don't have time for, right? So that's one of the things that definitely make it super challenging to not overthink things, is because you don't have that time.
Yeah, a lot of time to take yourself out.
And it's funny, some days it seems like every shot you have, it's in between clubs, and other days you're on the same golf course and it's like, wow, I can't believe I've got perfect gap wedge again today. And yesterday, it felt like you couldn't get anything there. So it's a weird game, how our minds can take over. So I had my first round of the year, kind of lucky. We already played on March the 16th, and the greens are wintry greens, and the ball's bouncing all over. And I was 2 over after kind of 3 holes or 4 holes. I think 4 holes, and the 5th hole is dead into the wind. And all summer I would hit basically a 5-wood. It's a short par 4. And I hit a driver right on the green, and I had a 20-foot putt for eagle. And I thought, man, this would be cool to get an eagle on the first round of the year. And I make the putt, and all of a sudden I'm even par, and I played pretty solid after that for the first round of the year. And it all come down to just being, hey, this would be pretty cool, instead of, oh, you got to make this because you had 2 sloppy bogeys to start the season. It's like, it's March the 16th. Who the hell cares what you shot on Wednesday? And it's so funny how your mind is this jail. Yeah.
If there was a mechanism that could document every single thought we had, like, I think we'd be kind of blown away. It's like
Right.
I'm thinking that.
And I have a memory. I remember everything. I remember, what people told me on the Toronto Golf Show, the Ottawa Golf Show, every shot I hit in the tournament last year. And so when you have all that stuff reoccurring over and over and over again, then it's sometimes hard to clear your mind as well when it's full of stuff, right?
Because you want to go back there. One of the things about this whole elevator concept is, if somebody made a mistake in the past, it's like, and there's probably different schools of thought, but I don't really subscribe to going back there and rehashing it, because obviously somebody played poorly because they were in a low state of mind, right? And so in that state of mind, that was the best shot they could make. But once you're in a higher state of mind or whatever, you're just naturally going to do better. So to me, there's no point in going back and trying to figure out what went wrong, because what went wrong is that you weren't seeing things clearly. You weren't responding accurately because of, whatever mental fog you were in at the time. So yeah, just leave it alone. Dean, did you have anything to say? I've noticed you've here, and I see that your microphone's on, but I don't hear any sound.
There we go.
Okay.
For me, this like when I play my best golf, I am absolutely focused on every shot. I know where the target is. I know the shape of the shot. And when I get out of the zone is because I just kind of lose concentration. And when I'm playing, just out to relax and enjoy, I don't care whether I miss a 3-foot putt. I missed a 3-foot putt because I didn't hit it in the hole. And that's the way I look at things. And like, to me, from listening today, I'm thinking, for the kids that I'm trying to teach, maybe I have the whole wrong approach, because this the way I approach things is not the way it was described here. To me, it's almost exactly the opposite. So I'm kind of blown away with what I've heard, I guess.
Okay, good. I hope that's helpful. Because I don't know what you heard.
It's absolutely different. Like I say,
Yeah.
I am absolutely focused on everything. That's just the way I am with everything that I do.
Mm.
And when I'm just relaxing, that's when I'm in the state that you're talking about, for being in the zone. So there's something wrong in my mind here. But no, it's very interesting.
Dean, you on? Oh, we still can't hear you. Oh, sorry.
I was watching that Netflix series, Full Swing, these top pro golfers. And it's interesting how I can't remember who it was, it doesn't really matter, but some of them do work with sports psychologists or mindset coaches and things like that. But I think some people are so, they're so worried that if they go and work with somebody, they're going to have to reveal the dark, ugly side of themselves or something. I don't know the reason. But the fact of the matter is, nobody has a dark, ugly side to themselves. Like, nobody. You just, as we go through life, depending on our understanding, our state of mind, we're just always doing our best. And nothing that happens to us in life ultimately harms us or changes us or, breaks us in any way. That's just not the way it works. That people think that they carry all this trauma, carry all this stuff and PTSD. It's like I worked in that field for 15 years and fully aware of that. But I just don't subscribe to that anymore.
Oh, well, also just the second part of the story, or the rest of the story, for Lucas, he doesn't get mad anymore either. He plays golf and hits the ball, chases after it like his dad, and doesn't get upset. And we both learned. He learned, oh, geez, Dad's hitting the ball even better. I'm gonna hit the ball even better. So.
Yeah.
Which was kind of nice, because I thought I created a monster golfing. Like, he plays baseball, he's not like that. He plays hockey, he's not like that. And then golf, he is like that. So then it changed.
One thing I like, a word I like, is lighthearted. If we can play golf and live our lives from a place of being lighthearted, it feels easier, it's more fun, more enjoyable, we feel more connected.
Well, I think we all agree that this was pretty fascinating, but each one of us will probably do some self-evaluation, and who knows, play some better golf this summer, and maybe pass this along to some of our students as well.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dean, go ahead.
I guess I put the headset on, it was better. So I just wanted to say, Marlene, thank you so much because I live in Mexico, so I'm fortunate to be playing golf. Not like you guys, sorry. But I've been playing a lot of golf lately and I've been really negative on myself. I guess just in my own thoughts, thinking I'm a golf pro down here and I got to play well, either to get clients or just in my own head, right? Because it's kind of like I got to make a living out of this, right? So if I play well, I'm gonna have. But if I'm not playing well, maybe people are like, well, I don't want to have to learn off of this guy. Maybe he doesn't really know what he's talking about, right? So I'm in my own head. So I think this is just perfect timing for me to hear this conversation and just to not be in my own head and just first of all, I should just be enjoying the fact that I'm getting to play golf in beautiful weather in the Caribbean. So I shouldn't be negative on myself. I should just be positive. Like golf is a tough sport to play. It's probably one of the hardest sports to play because it's just really tough. I mean, not too many people could play golf well. So if you're having a bad day, you're just having a bad day. I mean, it is what it is. But I think we just, as golf pros, we just want to perform because sometimes people are watching and we think that could be a potential client. So sometimes I just get wrapped up in my own head. So I just wanted to say thank you for trying to create clarity and take that mental fog out, you know?
Dean's a great athlete, so that wanting to expectations comes natural, right?
Well, you remember the first time remember when I came? So
Yeah.
quick story. So I did my qualification, my certification with Mark. I came from, well, at the time we lived in Quebec, Laval, Quebec. And I made my way all the way out to to do my test there, a playing test, playability test. And I started with a triple and a bogey. So I turned to Mark and I said, Mark, do you have any advice for me? He says, listen, I can't give you any advice, but I can give you 5 minutes so you could talk to yourself. So I took those 5 minutes. I talked to myself, and needless to say, I finished with a 78.
Yeah.
So it was just more of like, don't get in your own way. Like I told myself, you came all this way. So just think, just be in the moment. And everything worked out better after that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we just want too much out of ourselves, and I think that's a problem in itself. Is just get out of your own way and just have fun. Just appreciate that you're able even to do this. How many people can't even do this in life? So
I call that an ego problem.
yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. I'll be the first to admit it.
But the ego is very subjected to suggestions and you know, like ideas and I call it the pleasing, performing, perfecting, proving, like that's where we get caught up in that. But if we can see it for what it is and just relax and enjoy ourselves, well, yeah, it's all good.
I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Paul has his hand up. I see your lips move, but no sound.
Not my problem.
Thanks, Dean.
Paul, you're not coming through.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, there must be something wrong with the jack. Two comments. One is we talked a lot about our inner minds and preparing for a game, but the game is not from the first hole to the 18th green. The hours coming up to that game is just as important for you to be in the right state of mind. In the sense, if you're married and you have children and there's all sorts of things going on at home, how are you handling that and how is that? And if you're not at peace in your home life, it's very difficult to be at peace on the golf course because every hole is the same. Secondly, I had a couple of students today, and well, I had quite a few today, but anyway, these two young guys, I've known these young guys for quite a while, and they can beat the cover off the ball. So you all experienced that, right? And that's not me. So they came in anyway, and they're all set to go pounding the ball off the tee. I said, we're going to do something different today. So have any of you ever heard of the golf simulator game Candyland? It's like a children's simulator, and you don't hit a driver on any hole. They're all par threes for 18 holes. They can be from 50 or 60 yards up to maybe 110, 20 yards. But if you can envision a kid's Candyland with gummies and stuff all over the place and trees made out of candies and everything like that. And these guys they were just laughing, bawling out laughing. They couldn't believe that they were playing this game. But we had a ball on it, and they relaxed, and they were able, because now they were playing all their short game. Because all the guys like to get up and hit the drivers, but there was no drivers in this, and it was just comical. And they said that we had a great time, and we still had time to go and play a regular course afterwards because it doesn't take long to play it. You know what I mean? But it's just to throw a curve in there and to do something different than what the perception is. That's all. Very enjoyable presentation, Marlene. Thank you very much, Mark and Jeff and the guys for organizing it. And keep up the good work. Summer's coming.
Yeah.
After the Masters.
I put my contact information in the chat if anybody wants to contact me, but if you've got your email there, I will contact you.
Perfect. I just want to say one thing for Jeff. Jeff is the master at acronyms and short forms, and we always have the good F words in golf, okay? But we've never had the bad P words in golf. But now we have the pleasing. What were they? The P words. They're all bad.
Pleasing, performing or overperforming, perfecting, proving.
There we go. We'll keep the F ones and we'll get rid of the P ones.
Good idea.
Yeah. Well, if nobody has anything else they want to ask or comment, Marlene, I really appreciate you coming on and getting us all a little healthier, or potentially healthier in our golf life and our work life and our teaching careers. And I really hope that somebody reaches out to you. I probably will reach out to you. And who knows what your relationship will blossom into with the CGTF.
Well, thank you
very much.
Yeah, I
Thanks very
appreciate
much.
you participating and sharing, and that made it fun for me too.
Well, you did a great job.
Yeah, it was super fantastic. I think everybody got a lot of great nuggets. But everybody just needs to remember lighthearted. That's a good one. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marlene.
Thanks,
Thank
Marlene.
you so much.
Good night.
Night.
Thanks, everybody. Next
Thank
Monday
you.
night, we have a Motion to Coach seminar, and the following Monday night, we have DeWiz. So, and then you guys can get to work, and we won't bother you with every Monday night.